Hi, friends! Look, we match! I have a little friend and we match! Putting him down, he doesn't. He doesn't stay on my shoulder. I'm back with something completely unrelated to my last video because my brain makes the least YouTube algorithm friendly decisions possible. So today, we're doing a drawing video. You won't see my face for much longer after I explain sort of the premise and where we're at. So I have, in my brain, a lot of fantasy worlds. And they're all just kind of concepts, like they're characters and world building ideas and like moments, but none of them are really like stories or like plot lines. So I haven't done much with any of them. I actually have done much with one of them. If you want to read my webcomic. If you want to go read my webcomic, you can. I have a webcomic that you can read, and you can read the webcomic. But most of them just sort of ping around in my brain all the time, and I can't do much with them. Then I remembered this video by ABD Illustrates, where he took an old like story concept that he had and just like redesigned the characters and kind of like gave a sort of summary of like what their deals are and like what the world is. And that video is fantastic. That video is so much fun. I love that video a lot. Go watch it after you watch this. I'll plug other people till I die. And I was like, wait, I can do that. I have dozens of videos worth of fantasy world concepts in my brain. Some of them are like a decade old. And I like drawing. I like yapping. I can do both at once. I Twitch stream sometimes. Go check it out. It's been a while. I've been taking kind of a break. My life's been weird. Anyways, so yeah, that's what we're here to do. We're going to revisit an old urban fantasy world of mine. And redesign the sort of couple of characters I have for it, talk about what it is, what's going on. I really want to make more of these actually on this world itself. But, that's enough from, flesh me. Let's get into the drawing. Prepare for the audio quality to get a lot better in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So, as I mentioned, this world that these characters that I'm making are in is urban fantasy. All of the folklore characters are real. There's vampires and werewolves and fae and wizards and dragons. It's all very fun. It's a very like unsecret world. It's just everything is just all out there. It's like modern-ish. I sort of imagine it being set in this world's equivalent of like the 90s to like maybe early 2010s, like some like what I grew up with as the modern age. And so like there's cell phones and there's the internet for sure, but like if there are smartphones, they're not super common. It's kind of like where we're at. And there's magic and wizards, and certain people can become wizards. It's kind of random who can and can't become a wizard. Within humans, at least. Some humans just like have a magical spark, and some don't. And this is my buddy River Gallo. River, they, them, cannot do magic. River does not have that spark, but they have always been obsessed with learning about magic, obsessed with the theory of magic. And so they are an alchemist. It is like the one way that a human in this world can do magic without like making a deal with something else and not having that like magical spark within them. And so River knows a lot about like magic theory and about potion crafting. And that's like kind of their whole deal is they craft potions. They've kind of become like a back alley potion dealer. Like they're like a little bit a drug dealer, but for potions, for fantasy drugs, they tend to stay away from like recreational things and more towards like helping people who can't get enough health care.
The main one I think that they do is that they provide relatively cheap wolfsbane potion to the sort of like local werewolf packs, is kind of like their main thing. But they do like various deals with other sort of like local creature organizations and whatnot. And like a little bit of drugs. It's fine. They're an alchemist. It's what they do. They have a license. But River's kind of gimmick comes from the fact that in this world, when you are becoming an alchemist, your test for like getting your like license, like finishing your teachings, is to create a potion whose effects are permanent. Most of the time, potions in this world are very, very temporary, but they can become permanent if certain things are done with the creation of the potion. And creating permanent potions is very, very difficult. It takes a long time. It's very taxing. You need very magical ingredients that are hard to get. And so River, when given this assignment, thought, well, you know what would be really great is if I could just test all of my potions on myself all the time. And that's usually kind of a dangerous proposition, because if you aren't 100% sure what your potion is, it might kill you. And so River created a potion for themselves that is permanent. So they have this permanent magical effect on them that they are immune to all poisons. They cannot be poisoned in any way. They took great pains to like keep their sense of taste intact and like various things. Yeah, the thing that they didn't account for in all of their potion making was that it would make drugs not work on them. Largely like recreational drugs like alcohol and marijuana and other things are like technically low-grade poisons by the definition of however this potion's magic is working. So they can't get drunk, they can't get high, they can't take painkillers. The only way that like any sort of like anesthetic or something will work on them is if they get like a mage to do a spell on them, because they're basically like immune to substances being put into their body. So I think they have like a very silly sort of like tendency to drink things that are completely undrinkable, just be perfectly fine. They'll just take a shot of like straight like hydrochloric acid and they're totally fine. It just tastes very, very sour. And yeah, they are not actually the main character of this. I will get to the main character second. But River is the first character that I made because River's original design was based off of an outfit that I wore one time in like high school. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, I look like an alchemist, like a street alchemist in an urban fantasy world. And it just like sort of spiraled off into this whole concept. So that's where River's design comes from. So yeah, that's my little buddy. They are involved sort of in this story because one, they're just sort of like a person in this community. I think River has like relative safety, even though they live in kind of a sketchy neighborhood, because they provide a lot of important magical like drugs and healthcare to a lot of people. So like they're like you kind of don't want to fuck with them because a lot of actually powerful people are gonna get mad if they disappear. And they tend to get roped into the main character, who we'll get to in a minute. They tend to get kind of roped into that character's sort of mystery solving, partially just because they're besties, but also because, you know, River's very autistic about magic, and so actually has a lot of magical knowledge. And also just knowing a potion maker is helpful. You can do things with potions that you can't really do with traditional magic in this world, which is pretty nifty. And another thing, just finally about River, you can't really tell from this pose, but I think River's just a fundamentally very silly person. They're this weird street alchemist who's tired all the time, and who's just like kind of a mess. And they're fun. They're fun and silly. That's my little guy, you know? And here is our aforementioned main character. Her name is Evelyn James. She is a private investigator. She goes by Jamie most of the time. She does not like when people use her actual first name. The name just comes from I wanted a fun thing where people, if there's actual cops investigating something, they tend to assume, because they're shitty and misogynistic, that Detective James is a man. And so Jamie, I think, when she is in a crime scene with cops that don't already know her, gets a lot of shit. But yeah, she's a private investigator. So sort of the main kind of story that's happening with these characters is mysteries. I think there's kind of two parts to this story. There's sort of this mystery of the week, kind of just River and Jamie just kind of solving general mysteries, kind of establishing their vibe, establishing their relationship. And then I think in the future, with our third main character, who we'll introduce later, there's sort of more of an overarching plot that maybe ties in some of those older mysteries. But Jamie is a private detective, and she is also, pretty uniquely for this world, a necromancer. She does magic with the dead. As I mentioned with River, what humans can and can't do magic is pretty random. It's just some people have a spark and can learn how to become a mage, and some cannot. And Jamie does. Jamie has that spark, and Jamie uses it to do magic with death. I think her personality is kind of a counterbalance to River's. I think River is fundamentally very silly. Jamie is a lot more serious seeming, much more professional than River is, also because Jamie actually has a license to investigate things, and River does not. River just tags along. Sometimes it's needed, sometimes Jamie actually really needs River on a thing, but most of the time it's just they're just besties, and so they just hang out. And most of the time Jamie happens to be on a murder case. But yeah, so she's a necromancer, which makes a lot of cases actually pretty easy. You can just kind of talk to the victim, and if the victim knows who murdered them, makes a lot of stuff a lot easier. Unfortunately for Jamie, they do a lot of pro bono cases because a lot of their clients tend to be ghosts who don't really have means to pay them. I think, much like our world is not very good at factoring death into things, this world is even worse at factoring undeath into things. So I think you need very very clauses if you want to be able to change your will after you die in case you come back. And I think a lot of people don't think about that. And so a lot of, her ghost clients don't have means to pay her money for their services. They do their best, but Jamie is also just a kind person who likes to solve mysteries, and so does a lot of cases for free. So they don't have a lot of money. I think a part of being a necromancer is that Jamie has a very strange relationship with death. And so although she is very professional and seems very serious, I think she also can come across as a little callous to other humans. I think she's okay at interacting with more magical creatures, but with other humans, she comes off as very weird just because she has a very specific relationship with death as a person who does magic with it, and just doesn't really treat it the same way. She is not silly in the same way River is, but she is just very strange. And it's why they're best friends, because they're both just fucking weirdos. Even in this world that is full of weirdos. I think her being a necromancer, I don't think necromancy is like illegal in this world. I think it is legal to practice. I think there's probably a lot of restrictions on it. Jamie probably also, in addition to having a license to be a PI, probably also needs a license to practice necromancy, and probably does some things with necromancy that might be like a little bit illegal, but it's to help her clients with things. And like, I think this world I think has a very interesting relationship with magic. I think they're like, from the powerful, there are some like ideas of like what proper magic is and what improper magic is. And I think both Jamie and River end up on sort of the wrong side of that a lot, with River having backdoored their way into doing magic and Jamie practicing a kind of magic that's like generally frowned upon. It's not a good look usually to be fucking around with the dead. But Jamie still does it, because Jamie just kind of doesn't give a shit. I'm realizing as I describe these characters that neither of them are neurotypical. Which, you know, sounds about right. Jamie's also the character that I kind of have the least concrete about. Like, I have her general vibe, and I have like some like ideas of magic. And I knew kind of what I wanted from her design going in. I wanted her to have sort of noir detective, but like make it modern day kind of vibes. But I also wanted to give her like cool lesbian energy, which dressing a character like a noir detective, but also being femme is like, that gives you pretty cool lesbian energy. And then this part of the drawing is where I got paranoid. Because as you might have noticed, I'm white as fuck. And so, you know, with you know, analogous to modern day Earth setting, I got a little nervous with my sort of initial design, having her be very clearly like an Indian woman. And I was like, I wasn't sure about that like representation and if I could do that right. And, you know, eventually I realized like, one, I'm not actually writing this story yet, right? I don't need to like worry really about like doing good representation, because like there's not a story. These are just character designs. Like it's fine. And if I ever do write a story about this, I'm just gonna, you know, like put in effort to make her a good character and not make it shitty. And the other thing that was difficult, as you can maybe see from what's going on, aside from me being paranoid about representation, is that I could not, for the life of me, figure out this woman's hair. Again, we were going for cool lesbian energy. I think, honestly, the first hairstyle that was like kind of you know, classic male noir detective look did actually work pretty well. I like it more now looking back at it than I did at the time. But I was like, that feels a little bit too mask for like what I'm going for Jamie. And so I, you know, redid a bunch of things. I went with this hairstyle, and then I colored it in both of her color schemes, and then I was like, she looks like a middle-aged woman. That's I did a Karen haircut. Oopsies. Time to go back to the drawing board again. You'll notice that the thing that I end up with ends up being very similar to my first design. But it is fundamentally, yep, there I go erasing. There I go. I go with some middle part energy. I believe this is about the time in the character creation process that I was Googling cool lesbian haircuts. Because again, that's the energy I want from Jamie. I want Jamie's Jamie's just a cool lesbian who might be undiagnosed, you know? And who has a weird relationship with death and kind of refuses to play by most people's rules of like what magic should and shouldn't be. Which is why she's such good friends with River, because River is doing that from like a completely different angle. And here I go, back again. Back in the mines, I take a big pause, probably to text my partner about all the issues that I'm having with this character design. And I'm like, okay, let's get her like a little messier than that first design. Let's get her like a little more bangs coming out, a little more energy from her. And I really like this. I try to do a bun here, doesn't really work. It's fine, whatever. Things happen. I adjust. I do this little like short hairstyle. I actually really like this sort of short version of it. And since the actual version I end up going with is just kind of like a longer version of the same hairstyle, I might actually still use this shorter hairstyle at some point if I make anything out of this, right? Like, who knows? I think this is a decent alternate hairstyle for her. I like her with short hair. I think it's nice. I think what I eventually chose for her is better, but I do think this also works. Yeah, there we go. And ponytail. Beautiful. There's also some elements of Jamie's design that you don't see here because she's wearing long sleeves. You don't see the fact that I think in another design in the future, I'm going to give her a bunch of magical tattoos just because that fits, and also because I fucking love designing tattoos. And I also want to redesign her like pendant thing that she has because it's just kind of a pentagram, and that's it's a little basic. I want to like actually really go in and like do some research on like historical necromancy and kinds of necromancy from different cultures, and like really make her something that's like unique for her like arcane focus. Here's me futzing with her magic a little bit. I end up making it purple to match her purple color scheme. I think her magic can look various different ways depending on what she's doing. Magic is complicated. But yeah, there she is. Our private investigator, Evelyn Jamie James. Okay, so here is our third protagonist. As I sort of alluded to, she is a client of Jamie's. You might be able to kind of see where I'm going with her from the reference images that I have pulled up. But her name is Gertie May, and Gertie May is a vampire. As I mentioned, it's an urban fantasy world. A bunch of fantasy species are real, especially like folklore kind of things. I mentioned, werewolf packs in River's section, and Gertie May is a part of a vampire family. Some vampire lore for y'all while I'm sketching in the pose here. Vampires in this world are a cult. I'm not going for like a Resident Evil or an underworld where it's a disease. It's very much magic. They are undead creatures. And in this world, in this sort of modern setting, vampires are like basically the mob. And so there's like the sort of rich patriarchs and matriarchs that kind of run it. And, they sort of run like any kind of, gambling is just run by vampires. That's where their vampire money goes. And that's where they get more vampire money. And another thing is that because vampires are undead, but they are magical, in most things, vampires can't have kids. They can like sire other vampires through humans, but they can't like create their own people. I think in this world, you can actually have vampire children. It is just very difficult. It's a very occult ritual that's like hard and expensive. And so it's actually like a mark of being a very powerful and privileged vampire to have flesh relatives as opposed to having blood relatives, which are just people you've turned. And so Gertie May is the flesh granddaughter of one of these incredibly powerful, incredibly rich, old money vampire, like mafia dons, essentially. And she comes in to Jamie's office with a problem in vampire society. Plenty of vampires in this world will drink blood, but some of them drink blood substitute. I think that's another thing that River kind of has a hand in, like at least like in sort of their neighborhood, is providing blood substitute to vampires. And among many vampires in this city, a lot of them are getting sick. The families are getting sick because there is tainted blood substitute somehow getting into circulation. And the Dons are not doing anything about this. And so Gertie May, being the sort of upstart, young, 100-year-old vampire she is, has decided to take things into her own hands and hire a private detective. And so she, of course, I have the scene kind of like in vibes of where she meets Jamie. She sort of saunters in to Jamie's kind of shitty private detective office. There's, like saxophone, like there's like jazz playing as she comes in. She has a long cigarette holder. She has a conversation that is like so much sexual tension between the two of them, with Jamie's just sort of like very, very serious tone and May's transatlantic accent and her fur stole that she has. It's a very detective noir femme fatale energy. And then coming crashing through the door with just like slapstick comedy noises is River, who has just like some random news for Jamie, just like is like busting in just because that's what they do. Completely ruins the energy that's happening. And May takes one look at this silly, disheveled little rat of a person and is immediately like, well, I can't not fuck them. And so that's kind of our vibes. May is this very out of time character, very like inappropriate to the setting, but appropriate to the story kind of deal, because that's how vampires are. They're immortal. They get stuck in like certain old eras, and has this like very traditional noir detective relationship with Jamie, and then with River, she has sort of a Jessica Rabbit and Roger Rabbit energy, where it's just this tall, beautiful, elegant woman who is deeply, deeply in love with a silly, silly little guy. And it's just like a fun character dynamic between the two of them. I mentioned that this is sort of a semi-modern setting, again, sort of like 90s, 2000s kind of vibe. So these characters have cell phones. May, a fun detail, May does have a cell phone. She has a little BlackBerry because it reminds her of when she learned to type on typewriters. She likes having a full keyboard. You see here, I drop in this new image in a totally different art style. And I also fixed the terrible arm anatomy that I had on that one arm. Those arms were totally different lengths. Thank God I fixed it. But that other piece of art is actually by my partner. My partner loves vampires. May is very much sort of their addition to this story and this world, who I immediately loved so much. I think May's great. So I sort of finished that sketch, and then I was like, I should send this off to my partner just to get sort of approval. And they actually drew me a whole sketch of their own for May's design, so I could do some little tweaks here and there. Thinned out her eyebrows, thinned out her face a little bit, added a couple of little details. For the most part, she stays the same. I was pretty happy with how May was turning out. But just some subtle changes. And yeah, so she's bringing this like very different energy into here. I think one of the like big moments with May and with this sort of like overarching conspiracy of how this tainted blood substitute that's like poisoning all of these powerful vampires is like getting into the supply, is there is a vampire gala, because of course there is. They're a bunch of old money fuckers. Of course I'm gonna have fun like with them throwing a big fancy party. And May can get invitations for that, no problem. She's a flesh relative of a very powerful vampire. The issue is that if there's humans in there, they're gonna get fucking eaten. So May is like, hey, I really want you to infiltrate this thing so you can get information. I can get you invitations, but like, you're gonna get eaten if you just go in as humans. And between River and Jamie, they have no problem with this. Jamie has several necromancy spells that can basically like slow your heart rate and make you appear dead. And River has enough sort of potion making experience to be able to make something that can sort of mask the human smell of them to all of these vampires. And so there's definitely this very fun arc of them infiltrating this vampire gala, and River spiking some of the blood with truth serum to try and get something out of these people here, these powerful people. But the complication of this gala is that the actual reason that it's being thrown is so that Gertie May's betrothed can actually propose to her. And so the truth serum being in the drinks and this like proposal and all of these things, and so it's just like chaos by the end of it. So if anyone wants to draw fan art of that, be my guest. I really hope I drew that cigarette the right way. I didn't look it up. I didn't look up which way the cigarette goes. The filter's on the mouth side, right? But yeah, I really, really genuinely love these characters. Adding her choker, because that was an element that I didn't have from my partner's drawing. I had so much fun spending time with these characters and like fleshing out the world. There's a whole lot more to that vampire tainted blood conspiracy that I haven't even told you about yet, because it's for later in the story. So I would love to return to these guys, give them all like proper character sheets, give them, more interesting poses, because these were mostly just for like designing what they look like. So yeah, I'm for sure gonna be back in this world. I like it a lot. It's super fun. It's really fun to world build. There's a lot of like random world building details that are like not relevant to these characters that I have in my head that I would love to share. So I'll definitely be back to this, in addition to all of the other 1,000 stories I have in my brain. And, let me know how you like this. Let me know what you want to know about this world, about these characters. I think it'd be really nice to have some sort of like what people are interested in terms of this world. So I have a little more direction when I'm rambling, as opposed to just being like, here's the thing. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I had a great time making this. Hopefully you had a great time listening. And I will see you next time.